Hey, hello everyone. This is criminal profiler Pat Brown, and today I'm going to take you uh, to Florida, to Pensacola, to a very fascinating case of the disappearance of Tiffany Daniels. This happened in, let's see, it was 2013. So we're going on 10 years now. She has never been found. And this case, the reason I'm really interested in doing it is because the problem of the information that we have, and there is reasonable information out there. Discovery Channel is don't what's it Discovery? Yeah, it's on Discovery right now. They have a show called Disappeared on her, and there's a number of YouTube channels, and there's information out there. But the problem is, and this is what I want you to learn from this, because I'm trying to teach here, not solve necessarily, but teach. Uh, when you have misinformation, lack of information, when you have people's perceptions of things, when you have misunderstanding of how things even work, all of these things, then you get stuck and you can't really analyze as well as you would like to. This is what a profiler would go through. This is what a detective would go through, and certainly people outside of the case. Well, like I did not work this case, so I'm on the outside with you guys. It's questionable whether we're missing this piece of information and this piece. And I'm going to point these issues out as we go through the case because they're absolutely fascinating to think one piece of information could change everything as to what we think happened to Tiffany Daniels. I want to welcome everybody who's here in the chat room. By the way, I have a Patreon only chat room. And if you would like to be involved in that, let me do my spiel quickly here. If you would like to be in the chat room, I keep it just to patrons. So we have a pleasant time there. It's $5 a month. You can come to 8 different shows and be in the chat room. And we also have a great community. And it's not much money, and it does support an educational channel. If you don't want to do that, fine. Please do like the video. Please do subscribe to the channel. That helps the algorithms. What are algorithms? Algorithms. And also, if you hit the bell, you'll get notifications of the new videos that I'm doing, and that's all free. And I want it free, and will always be free, because I want students of criminal justice, profiling, maybe police officers working their way toward detectivehood, detectives already on the job. I want them to learn from the show, from this channel, and regular folks, because profiling is useful in your everyday life. People forget about that. But the more you learn to analyze, the more you can make good decisions, and maybe not get taken advantage of by certain people, and your whole life goes down on the toilet. So, and if you would also like to support the channel, you can buy one of my books below. Only the Truth is $2.99. It's a great psychological fiction story. Well loved. I love it. It's one of my favorite things I ever wrote. It's cheap. Actually, it's not $2.99. I think Amazon just knocked it down to like $2.79. It's an even better deal. But I think it's a love story too. So I think you would enjoy it. And you can always click that little $sign and just give a one-time donation. Anyway, okay, that's my spiel. Now let me get back to welcoming people in the chat room, because this is really going to be, I think, a little more interactive because of the issues that I'm going to bring up. Oh my goodness, it is a very busy chat room, and I'm going to do it like a 30-second thing here. Let me do it really quickly. Hi, Lila. Lila was here early, so eager beaver. Hi, Annie Haley. Want to just say love to you, Bonnie, your children, and prayers too. And I'm glad you're here. It warms my heart to know that you're here today. Martin is going to be here. He's one of our. We have a lot of women on this channel, so Martin is one of our great UK men, and I'm looking forward to his opinions on the male people in Tiffany's life. So throw that out at us. Elena is here. Lila is here. Let's. I'm not going to say that, Lila. All right, Mary Harris is here, and let's see who else is in here. I'm trying to run through quickly. Stephanie is here. Stephanie has seen the ID show, the Investigation Discovery show. So you're ahead of the game. I'm going to explain where I got my information from in just a second, because I think that's important. The wiki entry was a bit confusing, Stephanie says, about who was and wasn't paying their share of the rent where she lived. Uh, it, the wiki is not perfect because it is what it is. I use wiki when I do my shows a lot of times simply because they don't go into speculation. They just tell facts, or mostly they tell facts. Sometimes they're wrong. Oh, while I'm here, I just have to ask you guys who are in the chat room. My mic died. It's dead. I have to order another one. So I'm using it. I'm using whatever's on my camera, and I just want to make sure you can hear me clearly. I forgot to say that earlier, but I just want to make sure before I go into the case that I'm like not being heard at all. All right, let's see. Let's see. Who else is here? Carolina is here. Aunt Deanie is here. Aunt Deanie says never heard of the case, neither had I. I'm behind a lot of people. And Frucy is here, and your first timer. So great. I'm glad you're here. Midgie is here. Mary is here. Alexandra is here. Scarlett is here. Okay, that's a good point. Whoops, sorry. I looked up the case but couldn't find anything current. Watched a YouTuber from 3 years ago discuss it. Looking forward to Pat's 411. Yeah, the case is now 10 years down the line. So there's these different times when people have done stuff, and I'm going to tell you where you can get pretty good information in just a sec. And now I've forgotten where I was. Scarlett, Gretchen, I made it. Lisa S is here. Strega is here. Nina is here. Allison is here. CJ's here. Aunt Deanie's. I'm going to start repeating myself now. Aunt Deanie's here. Emily is here. If most of us are female, shouldn't it be Matreon instead of Patreon? This is a very interesting point. Maybe Patreon's really people instead of paternal. I don't know, as long as you send your $5 a month. Oh, the audio. Oh, thank God. I tell you, technical stuff. It's so much fun. Thank you all for saying all of that stuff here. And if I missed you, I'm really sorry because it's a long list. All right, let me tell you now where I get my information from. I like to do this, and a lot of channels don't do where they got their information from, and I wish they would, because sometimes they're just parroting another channel, parroting a Discovery show, and I think sometimes I'm a little concerned about that, because we should know, where the heck did you find this crap out? And are you just repeating it with a kind of your own flair, or what? So anyway, here's where I got my information. All right, so we have the Discovery show. It's called Disappeared. This particular one is season 7, episode 2. It's called Against the Tide. Now, if you don't have Discovery Channel, you're not going to find it anyplace else. One of the reasons I appreciate your support is because I actually pay for a lot of channels. Peacock, Discovery. Oh my God, I can't even go. And so I lose a lot of money every month. So most of the time I don't even access those channels. But when I need them, dang it, I need them. So I had Discovery because I've been paying for it, and I got the show. And the show it's good. You get all the basics. It's pleasant. It's pleasant. I mean, the poor woman is missing, but it didn't offend me. Let me say that. I didn't find them overreaching any place, and I thought it was at least a good, solid coverage. I didn't mind it too much. Now this one, this is called The Disappearance of Tiffany Daniels, number 133, and this is from a YouTuber called Night Watch Network. Now, you can see he's only had 1,800 views and he doesn't have that many subscribers. So you wonder, hey, is this worth watching? Yes, it is. Okay, I'm going to put all the links below. He actually talks with Tiffany Daniels' mother for a good portion of the podcast, and I really like that because this is where I got the information from mom straight, as opposed to Discovery Channel. I've worked for them, and one of the most frustrating things as anybody, even if an expert like myself or anybody who goes on these shows, is they sit you there for maybe hours and they ask you boom, 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 so many questions. And then when you watch the show and you're so eager to hear what you had to say, you pop up for like 20 seconds and then you're gone. Now, as a profiler and I'm an expert for the show, I pop up a number of times, but a lot of times I'm still like, you're still not putting out what I would want you to put out. You're just picking and choosing, and that's not my full statement. And as a matter of fact, recently I had a show that wanted me to be on, and I said, I will only come on if I can do the complete statement on the show. And they told me to go away because they weren't willing. They didn't want my complete statement. I think their agenda was not what I was saying. So they were happy to have me on the show and even not pay me. And then just excerpt things that they thought would support whatever they wanted to say. But, aside from the experts, family members come on these shows, and sometimes they're probably disappointed in that they get very little airtime as well. And you do this whole interview and you get like little pieces. So I will credit this particular show that mom she got to speak with us with the podcaster for a really long time. So if you want to hear from mom, very well done. So I want to give them a shout out because one thing I do about shout outs to other YouTubers, as long as I don't believe they're grifters, I will shout you out. What I mean by grifters is when I see you do a show on Tiffany Daniels and you do 50 different videos, and every time you come up with some information, some gossip, whatever you come up with, and then you do a whole show, it's a bunch of bull. I will not put you out here. But if you do one show per case, even if you're not an expert, if you're just a storyteller, if you're a good storyteller, even I may come to your channel and say, oh, that was useful. So I thought this was a reasonable YouTube video. So I think you should check it out. Okay, now there's another one, which I also thought was kind of interesting. It's called The Disappearance of Tiffany Daniels Night at the Beach. Wait a minute, which one? Wait a minute, hold on, which one? Hold on a second, now I'm confused. Which one is which? Dang it. All right, I can't remember. Hold on a second. I got to check something out. I may have screwed this up. You know me. You have to have a little patience if you want. I might have screwed up which one had the mom in it. And I just want to give you the straight deal on that. Okay. The mom is in The Disappearance of Tiffany Daniels, the Unfound. Okay, wait a minute. Okay, hold on a second. I may put these in the wrong order. Okay. Unfound podcast, I believe, is the one with the mom in it. Yes, that's the one with the mom in it. The reason I also have this other one, The Disappearance of Tiffany Daniels. Okay, let me do it straight again. Mom on this one. Mom is on this one. Very worthwhile watching. This one is okay. There's no mom on there. What he and somebody are going through the crime, and they have some. They describe a lot of information about the crime, and then they have lots of theories, which are many of them are completely off. But I don't see him as a grifter. I see him as a person who's interested in just analyzing crime, even though they're not experts. I didn't mind it terribly much, but I did actually get some interesting viewpoints on there. And I thought, okay, that's not bad. So, and I also stole some of their pictures. So I actually had some good things I wanted to point out, and they're from his channel. So I want to give him credit. I think it's even though he had some of the analysis I thought was, not what I would say. Again, as long as they're not presenting themselves as experts and they're just going, hey, what do you think? What do you think? I'm okay with that, because I don't have an issue with that. And I did think he put some really good stuff out there. So I want to give him a shout out, especially since I borrowed some of his photos. So, and I'll point out which ones, especially one of them I thought was really useful. He does some map work, and I was okay with that. So that's what I want to point out. Let's see. So we got the Discovery Channel. We got this one. That's the right one. The mom one. This is the mom one, and this is the one I just think these two guys talking about it and showing maps is useful. Okay. All right. Now that I've all confused you. Oh, all right. So here we go. Now let's get to the case. But keep in mind, I'm going to look at things that cause questions in understanding a case. All right. The disappearance of Tiffany Daniels. On 4:43 p.m. on August 12, 2013, yes, I'm doing Wikipedia because it is the simplest version that I can then add information to. Tiffany Daniels She left her job as a theater technician at Pensacola State College in Pensacola, Florida, telling her supervisor that she would not be returning for a few days, but she did not say why. And I'm going to get into the supervisor later, whose name is Bob. All right. And there are going to be a number of people that come into question when people look at this case is like, what happened to her, and what should we pay attention to? So what in the world? Hold on one second. Well, that is the strangest thing ever. Hold on a second. I cannot believe this. What in the world? Hold on. This is freaky. And you wonder why I have trouble sometimes with technical stuff. I had moved onto this channel all of my stuff that I wanted on here, and it has gone missing. Now, I do not understand how that happens. I think sometimes when you switch between certain platforms, there, I'm going to get to her in a minute. Oh, look at these things just pop up now. Oh, this is interesting. I'm trying to get them back because these are all my backgrounds and they all have gone missing. How bizarre is this? Swear to God, they were all here before I started the show. So I'm just going to put them all back in so I can talk about them because they're very important. And they just every one of them went missing. Okay. If you all have any of those drinks you were talking about, like scotch and stuff, yeah, please do enjoy them. I think it would be important. Because I'm going to see things flashing on the screen for a second here because I want to get these all back in. I can't believe they went missing. It's so bizarre. Okay, what else went missing? I'm trying to find all the things that went other things that went missing, which are really important for me to be able to do the show properly. Okay, I think that might be it. How freaky is that? All right, and that's the way things go. All right, so let me go back to. I just want to point this out. So what we have here is, let me go back to our conversation here. Okay, she told her supervisor at the end of the day that she would be taking the rest of the week off. This was on Monday, and this is her supervisor, Bob, and he's going to be one of the possible persons of interest, Bob. Okay, and when we have the information, she's left at 4:43. Was it 4:43 p.m.? She normally is around 5. People talk about she left early, but I mean that's not huge. But she left at that time, supposedly telling Bob, who was her boss and worked, with all the stage, theater stuff, that she was going to take the rest of the week off. And this is going to be very interesting as far as why would she do that? And that's a real interesting question. But I also want to say that one of the things people say is the only person that says she was taking the rest of the week off is Bob. In other words, she left and he claims, and this is where we have problems with, is it true information? Is it misinformation? Is it something that's misleading? What is it? He said, she told me she was taking the rest of the week off. She has some things to take care of. He also said she didn't have enough money for gas for her car, which is a strange comment. You would think that if you don't have enough money for gas for your car, she's saying she can't get back to work, even though she works very near her house. Is she saying she can't borrow a few bucks to get gas? What about this comment? And it's strange. The question is, did Tiffany say that to Bob, or didn't she? Did Bob make this stuff up? And we'll get into that later. Or did she say it? And there's no way for us to know. If I were a police investigator, I'd be working on this one. And I'll get into the fact that the police did investigate different people involved in this case. They did bring them in, but I don't know how well they did their job, or whether they did their job well and just came up with nothing. But that's where we are here. So that's who Bob is. All right. She told him she'll be taking time off. She was not reported missing until the end of the week after she had failed to return to work. That's not actually correct. Since Wikipedia screws up too, so there's more misinformation. There was her roommate, which is this guy, told his daughter, who was an acquaintance of hers, not really a friend, although that's claimed it is. Let me show you the daughter. This is Noelle Nichols. She is listed in the documentary as Tiffany's friend. Apparently, she wasn't really her friend. She was more of an acquaintance. They met at a Young Democrats thing. Her dad had this Young Democrats thing going, and Tiffany went there, and Nicole was there, and so no, sorry, Noelle, wrong name. What's her name? Noelle Nicole. Okay, see, Noelle Nicole's. Okay, Noelle. All right, so they all were there, and so how strong relationships they had is questionable. But apparently, this is her roommate, and at the time, the information that went to the family about her being missing wasn't because she didn't show up at work, because he was already not expecting her at work. The information came from the roommate, who called his daughter, who contacted Tiffany's family. That's how it happened. And I'll get into all those details later, since Wikipedia is a little wrong on that. All right. She failed to return to work. Well, she did, because she was missing at that point. Her friends and family were unaware of any plan she had made that would explain her absence. This is true. Daniel's housemate, this guy, also reported she had left unusually early for work that day. And I'm going to get into the whole day. So anyway, she goes missing. And I want to, before I go into how she went missing and what evidence they have, let me go into who she is, okay? Just a little background on Tiffany, because I think this is important. In this case, it's extremely important. And now that I've managed to pull this, actually get this back up here. So this is Tiffany Daniels. She was 25 years old. Now, let me read you a little bit about her. She loved art, outgoing personality. Her family described her as free-spirited, and she could often lift the mood of those around her. She enjoyed painting. And let me stop here just for a second to show. Okay, so these are her parents, all right, and this is they're trying to find Tiffany, and obviously still trying to find Tiffany after all these years. And she did paint. I'm going to show you a couple paintings. Now, this was on the Discovery Channel and like a simple clip. I have no idea if these are actually Tiffany's paintings. I looked to find out, what kind of painting she did, because this is going to be important. And does this have meaning in this case, her paintings? Because she theoretically could be selling them for money. This is what they showed in the Discovery Channel show. They never identified them as her paintings, so I don't know if they were just props. And this is very important, because I also do some artwork, and doesn't mean I can sell my stuff for crap. You know what I mean? I mean, I could put it up. I could put it in art shows and no one could buy it. I could put it on eBay and I could get no sales. Selling art is not easy, okay? There's so much art out there. So this is important as to everything about, what Tiffany was about and what she might have done. Okay, so, but she did like art. So it says here that, and I want to point out about the family. The family is honest about certain things about Tiffany, but they seem to be maybe either not aware, or maybe, it's your daughter who's missing. You don't want to say certain things. You have to be very careful when you listen to the words of family, because sometimes they're just, oh my God, she does a perfect job. She wouldn't do this. She would. Friends are a little bit more open, but even they are very biased. And sometimes they don't want to say things about their friends. So a lot of times it's hard to know the truth about a person's personality or their behaviors or what they would or would not do. Okay. All right. So Daniels enjoyed painting and eventually took a job at the Pensacola State College Theater in Pensacola, Florida, where she painted sets. Okay. So she's painting sets, which at least earns you some money. Most of the time, artists are starving artists for a reason, because it's so incredibly difficult to earn any money. My mother was an artist. She was a watercolor artist. And she painted thousands of pictures in her life, and she sold them in different art shows and that were, over her lifetime. She made money, but she also had my dad, who was GS-18 in the government. So she didn't have to make that much money. She never was a famous artist. She was a good artist. People loved her work, put it in their houses, but it doesn't mean she made spectacular money doing it. So she could paint, go to a show. Maybe that show she sold I don't know, 5 paintings, and the 5 paintings might add up to $1,500. But then you don't do another show for 2 months, so it's not like you're making big bucks. So to get into galleries and make the huge money, it's a teeny weeny amount of people. It's kind of like YouTubers. Only this many make any money at all. Like only 0.25 of 1%. That's that bad. So it's one of those careers you go into because you love it, but you don't necessarily think you can make a living off of it. And that's very important. All right. When she was not at work, Daniels took advantage of Pensacola's cultural and natural attractions in the city's downtown near her job. She often organized and attended blues and swing dances and parties. She loved dancing. Okay. From her house, a short distance from the Bob Sykes Bridge, okay, to Rosa Island, to Santa Rosa Island. This is important because this is where her car was eventually found. She would often go hiking and biking in the dunes. So there is let me see, I'm just going to pull this up for you right now, just so you can understand that she went to this location more than once in her life. Okay, let's see if I found. Okay, this is Pensacola College up here, and this is one of these I did take from the channel. Thank you very much, because I just like the way. No, was that one? I'm not sure. Maybe it's mine. I can't remember. Anyway, you could drive down here in like it's a 30-minute drive, or maybe 20 minutes, and you can go down here. This is where her car was eventually found. But she would go from this is Pensacola College. She would go down here and then go biking, hiking, and enjoying the beautiful, beautiful beaches there. And they were beautiful. Let me show you a couple pictures. What she was looking at. I mean, we're talking about that, beautiful beaches like this, and why not go walking and biking and all that kind of stuff in these beautiful places. So, at any rate, and you can see here, see there's all water and beaches and places you can bicycle, and it's grand. So that's one thing she did, and that's important because when her car was found at a location where she had been to before, and more than before, quite often, this is important in understanding that why did her car end up there? That's the question. Did she drive it there? Because that's where she normally goes. Okay, so keep that in mind. All right, so and she also, let's see what else. Okay, despite her apparent satisfaction with life, she had financial problems. Her parents said that by summer of 2013, they had noticed a pattern of paying rent for a series of housemates who were either disinclined or unable to pay their share. Now, if you've ever had to deal with renters before, it can be a terribly unpleasant experience. Let me tell you, it can. She lived in this house, a Victorian house, had enough room for 5 bedrooms, but apparently most of the time was just trying to have 3 people living there. Somebody owned the house, and then she would rent the house to one person, and if they brought in other people, that's how you share out your rent. And she is near college, so that's good. I mean, she could get renters, but if she was having to pay people's rents, I'm going to say she didn't collect the proper deposit, beginning and end. I rented rooms to students in my house for, oh my God, how many years? Over 20, 25 years. Long time. When I was raising my children, I was a homeschooling mom, and we didn't have enough money. And I had a big old colonial house, 250 years old. I had 5 rooms in there, and I rented 2 to 3 to students. But I made sure they paid their rent. And they had to put their deposit down. I'm going to say she got desperate and didn't ask for the deposit. Then what happens? They didn't pay their rent, and then she was stuck for the rent. So her parents said she was very kind-hearted, and therefore she ended up she was like behind all the time. And this is important because she was having massive money problems at the time she disappeared. All right. So in July of that year, after another one had moved out, she advertised on Craigslist for a new roommate. Now, it's interesting because we have Craigslist involved here. And she got the new roommate, which happened to be the guy who was in the New Democrats thing. So I don't know if he actually saw, his daughter told him she was looking for something, or he just saw it and said, oh, is it, that's that woman that was here. Or she told him, I'm renting a room. And he goes, oh, she said she put I put an ad on Craigslist. And he goes, hey, I'm looking for a room. And he jumped on it. So That then he moved in. His name is, let's take a look at our beginning sort of suspects here. All right. Um, wow, that one's missing too. Hold on one second. I'm missing another thing here. I got to find this one that also went missing. How strange is this? Hold on one second. Let me find him. Where did he go? Okay, here we go. I'm gonna put this one. All right. All right. Gary Nichols is the name of the roommate who moved in. 54-year-old father of one of her friends slash acquaintances who was separating from his wife and wanted to live closer to his job. I've heard this one before with people, and I've always been real leery of people who aren't students moving into my house because I'm like, why do you need a place to live? If you're making real decent money, can't you just rent a place on your own? You're 54 years old, dude. Why are you renting a room with a young woman in a student house, essentially? That's creepy, dude. And that's going to be an important part of, is he a suspect or isn't he? Or a good person of interest. All right. So he moved in. Wanted to look closer to his job. Daniel's parents were uneasy about her sharing living quarters with a man more than twice her age. But he was able to pay a share of the bills, and the two had similar interests. Nichols, too, Gary Nichols, too, liked bicycling and followed a similar diet. She's a pescatarian, so she, vegetarian plus fish, and apparently that was his diet. That's always odd to me because, when people moved into my house because I needed the money, I really didn't give a crap what they did for hobbies, how they ate. They just followed my rules and I'm good. I mean, we're not going to become buddies. What do I give a crap what he eats? Unless I won't have that food in the kitchen. If you're like a vegan and you don't want people cooking meat in your kitchen, it matters. That she bicycles and he bicycles, so what? But it is going to be important in my analysis. Remember this. He said they had similar interests. He bicycles, she loved bicycling, he loved bicycling, and their supposed diet similarities. Okay, so that's Gary Nichols. All right, now we're going to get to this fellow over here. All right, who is she? Well, who is he? All right, so when she went disappearing, she had a farewell breakfast with her boyfriend. All right, he had been accepted into a graduate robotics program at the University of Texas. They'd been together for a year, supposedly were in love, and he got this offer, and he moved to Austin, Texas, because he couldn't turn it down. He had encouraged her to move there with him, but she didn't go. Daniel's friend said that while she still loved him and wanted to continue their relationship to the point of making plans to visit him later, they were going to try a long distance thing. She was not ready to move from Pensacola yet. Now, this is just kind of interesting point, because when somebody, you're madly in love, and she was working at a theater thing. She wasn't making good money. She was having trouble with roommates. Her family did live in the area, but your man has just moved to Austin, Texas. And a lot of people point out, oh my God, great place for her to move to. And this guy, which is that's Bob, the theater dude. He supposedly told her not to move because the art was better in Pensacola than Austin, which is really questionable because Austin is a bigger city and has a better art scene. So he's kind of lying. But on the other hand, seriously, I don't care if there's a good art scene in either place. It's hard to actually sell anything. So, if she moved to Austin, she could do the same thing she did in Pensacola. She could get involved, work for a gallery. She could work for a theater. Basically the same, because I don't know that her artwork was so spectacular that she would have like massive opportunities in Austin to sell her artwork and become famous. I doubt that. I think that's crap. He probably just said that because he knew it didn't really make any difference. And supposedly the claim is on this guy is that he was kind of he was the older guy doing the theater stuff. And so a lot of the girls coming in looked up to him, and some people said he was rather flirtatious, shall we say. I'm not going to say there was a theater casting couch. because that's all gossip crap. But he might have liked her, and he might have just given her some off the cuff advice. Hey, you're moving out there. How do you know you're going to get anywhere there? You can have the same opportunities here. So this is what I call questionable information. I don't even know that when people said he said that, like he was trying to keep her there and keep her away from her boyfriend, he was lying to her, and that's really super suspicious. I don't know that that's true. I just know that maybe he just off the cuff said, because he's running the theater. Hey, you should just stay here. I don't know. Should she have gone to Austin? Well, I think she would have done just as well in Austin as she did in Pensacola. She would be away from her family, but she would be with the boyfriend she's supposedly madly in love with. Except I'm going to guess she wasn't. Because she could have moved there and tried it. Her family actually encouraged her to move to Austin. They're like, hey, it's a quick trip back here. Try it out. See if you like it. And she didn't go. So I don't know what her issues were. She had a boyfriend waiting for her, and she decided not to. So I'm going to say maybe there were some issues in the relationship. She wasn't as obsessed with him as people thought. And so she wasn't willing to just ditch her job and her family and go there. She's like, yeah, whatever. We'll keep it the long distance and see if there's any point in any of this. That's my theory. And so anyway, that morning on August 11th, this is the day before, Daniel started the day with a farewell breakfast for her boyfriend, who had been accepted into the robotics thing. So anyway, after the breakfast, Nichols recalls Gary Nichols, the roommate who was there during the breakfast or somewhere after, recalls that she was slightly depressed for the rest of the day. Who's telling us this? Gary Nichols. Do we believe him? Who the heck knows? But that was tempered with enthusiasm for a later visit to Austin, a town her friends believed she could adapt to. So in other words, she wasn't that bent out of shape that she was like, and this is issue that people think maybe she committed suicide because they weren't together and she got depressed and she just killed herself. He says she was slightly depressed, but not so bad. All right. So that's what Nichols says. All right. So now that day, Tiffany Daniels, and the theater department, Bob, were scheduled to start preparing sets for a production of Spamalot. In the fall, they were going to do Spamalot. That night, she and Nichols decided to watch Monty Python and the Holy Grail, the film on which the musical is based, for inspiration and relaxation. And supposedly they had watched the film and again, by the way, great film, Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Great film, as is Life of Brian. Little plug there for the Monty Python people. Love both of those films. They're funny as heck. Is it reasonable that she'd want to see the film because they're doing it? Sure. Is it completely creepy that she sat on the couch with this new renter? By the way, he'd only been there 2 weeks, according to the family. 2 weeks. And this is very important. Is it creepy that she's sitting there I don't know that I call that creepy necessarily. I mean, I've had renters in my house and I've sat on a sofa with them, watched a movie too. So is it creepy that a 35, 40-year-old woman sat with a 20-year-old and watched a movie? No, I don't think so. Maybe you do. Such a cougar. Anyway, I can't say it's creepy. They just might like, oh, it'll be fun to watch Monty Python. Let's have some popcorn and see it. Not necessarily creepy. On the other hand, possibly creepy because he's an older man and now he's moved into the young girl's house and now he's hanging out, watching movies with her. Other thing to point out, do we know they watched a movie together? No, that's what he says. Secondly, maybe they started watching the movie together, maybe got handsy. And she's got uncomfortable and walked away and said, you're creepy, dude. Could that have happened? Sure. We don't know how the movie actually went because they supposedly laughed, ha, 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 coming from him. We don't know what happened that evening. You got to keep that in mind as an investigator or a profiler. When you have a person of interest giving you information, you have to always say, maybe true, maybe not true. Anyway, so we'll go on. Then what happened? They supposedly retired to their bedrooms as they both had work the next morning. Now, here's the next interesting point. At 5 a.m., Nichols recalled, again, his word, that he heard the door to the house open and close several times. He looked outside from his room, thinking that it might be Daniels, but he did not see her. And the family said, and she goes to work at 7 a.m. Normally, that's when she leaves. And when he got up, he did not see her car there. When he got up in the morning, he didn't see her car there. Her car, which is a let me point out the car because that's going to come back into play in this story again. This is the car. It is a gray Toyota 4Runner. That's an SUV that her parents gave her. She needed something to get around with, especially because she was carrying her bike and her paintings. All right. So what's weird is that family says she never got up that early. And so why the heck was she getting up in the middle of the early morning, 2 hours before she needed to, 3 o'clock in the morning? It's even 4 hours before she needed to, and started going in and out the door. There's a lot of well, people have all kinds of theories on that. Some say she was there were three of her pictures in the car, three of her paintings, one large and two small. Was she carrying those out to her car? Her bicycle was in the car. Did she carry her bicycle to the car? I don't know. I don't know what was in the car before that night. I don't know if he really heard her coming and going. That's his word. I don't know if it's true. But supposedly that's what he claims happened. Anyway, she did leave that morning and go to work. So nothing happened to her at that point in time. Okay. So she got up. He assumed she'd gone to work. Okay. Her parents said it wasn't usual to get up early, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Daniels arrived at work on schedule for the beginning of her shift painting sets. She asked her supervisor, good old Bob, if she could leave a little early that day and let him know she'll be taking some time off, possibly the whole week. But she didn't explain why, at least according to Bob. Again, we don't know. She was seen in the parking lot around 5 o'clock. So again, I'm not sure by who. She was there during the day. So we know that nothing happened to her that day. Then she left work, and that's when she was never seen again. All right. She punched out at 4:43 p.m., left the theater, and no one's seen her since. All right. That night, all right, this gets interesting. So then she goes home. The police have checked that did she go home or did she leave straight from the theater? Here is another important point of what's true and what isn't. The police believe she went home because there was activity on her computer. She left at 5. There's activity from 5:30 on, and we don't know. Her car was we know at some point, and I'm going to tell you this in a minute because she goes over this bridge and gets, and they see the license plate on a toll there. So she rides home about 5:30, and about 3 hours later, the car is seen going across the bridge. So there's that 3-hour period of time. So they claim, the police, that they believe she was home because there was activity on her computer. But does that mean she actually went home? First of all, that means somebody was on her computer, and she could have been on her computer, or roommate could have been on her computer, right? Unless it depends on the computer. How did one get into that computer? Was there a passcode or not, or was it just open? What kind of sites were looked at? Are they sites she would look at, or are the sites just weird stuff being pulled up that she wouldn't have looked at? And that's, as an investigator or profiler, that's what I would want to know. Exactly how long was she on the computer? What sites did she pull up? Apparently nothing particularly weird. And she didn't pull up that she was going down to the Santa Rosa Beach. I'm trying to remember the name of it now. Santa Rosa Island. Santa Rosa Island. It didn't say, it's not like she went on and said something on Santa Rosa Island, then she went there. But there's nothing, just they said it was not very interesting. I don't know how long she was even on. She could have been on for 5 minutes. So essentially, they think she arrived home and was there at 5:30. Then from that point on, they don't know anything. The roommate claims he didn't even hear her come in the house, that he was on the telephone with his new girlfriend, who's in another state. I don't know if his girlfriend broke up his marriage, that he was cheating on his wife, or whether that was they were separated and he hooked up with somebody. I don't know if she's somebody found on one of those websites. But he supposedly was talking with her, and he claims, well, maybe that's why I didn't hear her come in and do anything in her room. But the parents are like suspicious because her room has this closet, and in the closet there's a big, huge hole in the top of the closet, like some of the boards are missing, and you could literally see into the next room if you worked hard at it, or you could see into her room if you worked hard at it, into the closet anyway. She had a lot of crap in there. But they said it was easy to hear straight through the rooms, which is kind of creepy because I don't know if I would want to be with my boyfriend in one room and have some other dude in the next room hearing what I'm doing in that room, because, but, they're students. And so, but they thought, why couldn't he hear her come in the house? If he heard her in the morning, why, when he was asleep, why wouldn't he hear her come in the house when he's on the phone? And why wouldn't he hear her on the computer and going back out? Why not? So they're suspicious of that. So anyway, there is no proof she came home, but she could have come home and been on that computer. Then that's the last supposed known point where she was known to be in existence. Let's say that. All right, so now she goes missing and doesn't come home that night. Now there's a discrepancy here too. So here's some more interesting things that may or may not make sense. But before I go on, I want to point out that when she went missing, the police looked right into the boyfriend, because hey, when she's missing, they're like, hey, you always go to the boyfriend, right? And they went to Austin, or they told him to go to the Austin police. He did. He gave DNA. He did everything with them. He was totally open with them, and they checked his phone records, and basically there's no way he had anything to do with this. So let me change the background here, because he's not really a suspect, shall we say, because they really ruled him out. I can see no reason why he'd be a suspect in anything that happened. So let's go back here. So what we actually have is 4 different options: the roommate, the boss, some serial killer, or that she went off someplace on her own. Or she went off, she might have drowned, or she might have, gotten into sex trafficking like her family thinks might be true, and then something happened to her. So we'll get into all that. So anyway, now what happens is she goes missing. She doesn't come home. He becomes concerned. And now this is where I say misinformation or questionable information becomes a problem. He says it became on Wikipedia here, and I don't know where they got their information on, but the claim is that at 10 o'clock that night, and this is important because if I were investigating this case, this would be so important, but I just don't know if it's true. The claim is at 10 o'clock that night, she hadn't returned home, and he became concerned. So he called his daughter. This is the Noelle. Is that what her name is again? I forget her name. He called his daughter Noelle. Let me find her just so I got her name right. Yes, good old Noelle. He called her supposedly at 10 o'clock that night, said, Tiffany hasn't come home. And Noelle's like, and, she's young. She's probably out having a good time. And you're being like too much of a daddy guy. Well, she doesn't need to hang out with you. You're an old dude. Very good advice. Very reasonable. However, if you listen to this, the information of with the mom talking on the podcast I recommended, or the YouTube channel I recommended, the mom says he did not call his daughter that night at 10 o'clock. That actually another day had gone by, and then she hadn't come home, and he thought that was weird because not only did she not come home that night, but she didn't come home the whole next day. Then he called his daughter. That's a little less creepy than he calls at 10 o'clock. If he calls his daughter at 10 o'clock, I'm like, really? I mean, she's 25. She has her own life. Why would you be saying that already? If you call it the next day or the day after, I get it. Okay, because she's got to be gone for 2 days. What the hell? Even then, you kind of wonder because, he's only been there 2 weeks. It's not her dad. I mean, she's a student. You probably think, oh, she just went off with her friends and stuff. You probably wouldn't worry about it. But he did. He called Noelle and he said, hey, she never came home. So I don't know when she told him stop being a pain in the ass. But then a couple more days goes by and he calls her again and he says, look, I came home and the electricity's off. She's not here still and the electricity is off. So Noelle calls Facebook's Tiffany's parent, Tiffany's mom, and says, hey, look, Tiffany's roommate says she hasn't been home since Monday and the electricity's off. And that's when everything became, oh my God, what happened to Tiffany? So then the mom talks to Noelle, then she contacts the police and all of that. That's when the official report goes in that that her daughter is missing because no one has seen her since then. They start, say the official police report, they start putting out the flyers. And while I'm at this, let me just say that she said to Gary here, bring me the bills and I'll pay them, because the daughter, she was already 2 months behind on the bills. She was having problems paying the bills. So she was having, all kinds of problems. She may really have told good old Bob that she had problems with paying the bills and didn't have gas for the car because she hadn't paid the electric bill. So mom meets up with Gary, I think at a public restaurant or something. And he gives her the bills and she says, okay, I'm going to pay the bills. And he says, okay, that's good. I've already moved out. And she was kind of shocked. She's like, what? You've only been there 2 weeks and you just moved out? Why? And she asked for the key. So he gave her the key to the house because she didn't have one. I didn't have a double. And so that at that point, she could actually go into the house. But that's kind of odd. I mean, if you paid your rent for the month, why would you just leave after? It was getting close, I guess, about that point. We're talking 3 weeks in. But this is what I don't understand. When the police interviewed this guy, what did they find out from him as to why he moved out, where he moved out to? I don't know. And this is where it's hard to figure out stuff when you don't have that information. But it is a little odd that he just, as soon as the girl goes missing, he just moves out, especially when the mom's willing to pay the bill. So I don't know, maybe he just thought it was too sketchy a place. The girl was missing. Jesus Christ, don't have electricity. I'm getting the hell out of here. I got enough money to go someplace else. So it could be not suspicious, but it's interesting. So anyway, that's when now they start putting out the flyers. Where is Noelle? Where's Tiffany? And where, they put out flyers about her car and all that. And then what happened was when they found her, they discovered her car. And so down on Santa Rosa Island, hold on a second. Let me get you that back. All right. This is Santa Rosa Island down here. It looks like this. Oh, kind of in your way. The car is found here on Santa Rosa. One of the people who knew her, they were jogging out there and they'd seen all the flyers and they saw her car and goes, oh my God, that's her car. So they found her car. It was about, how many days later was it? They found her car on August 20th, 8 days after she'd last been seen. So 8 days later, they found her, that gray SUV here on Santa Rosa Island, which is a place she had gone to before. But she, of course, was not in the car. Now, let's talk about the car. What was in the car? In the car, the mom was then the mom found out. She races over there. The police are there. And in the car, they find, really? Wait a minute, hold on. I think let me show you a couple more pictures just so you can understand where the area was. This is where the car is found. Now, at the top there, the car would be coming from Pensacola, but the Pensacola State College or her house, which is fairly near. And they come across, the car came across, I'm not going to say her, because we don't know if she was driving it, Pensacola Bay Bridge, and then across this other bridge called Bob Sykes. And where you see the little arrow is the toll, and that's going to play an important part of how we know the car actually went over there at that time. The toll actually took a picture, and this is the actual picture. Hold on a second. I'm sorry. That's not it. It took a picture at 7. Wait a minute. Sorry. Now I got to find the exact time. 7:51. At 7:51, where that arrow is, that's when the car was clocked on the day she went missing. So we're talking 8 days ago. We're not talking about 3 days after she went missing or 5 days after. This is on the day she went missing. So she was supposedly at home at 5:30, and 3 hours later at 7:51, her car is clocked going through that arrow at the toll booth. Then where you see the circle, that is where the car is in the parking lot. Okay, so that's where her car is right there. And let me show you a couple more pictures. It's in that parking lot. I want you to notice that there's beaches on both sides, places where you can go biking, places where you can go swimming. And there's also a condo there, which means there are people who can see the parking lot. And this is something very interesting to me, is that 7:51, the car goes through. Now, so if she went and pulled into that lot, she's pulling into that lot about 8 o'clock p.m. if she's in the car. Now here is when is sunset? Sunset is 7:35 on August 12th on that date. 7:35. That's where you see the 1935. 7:35 is sunset. Now, mind you, people don't understand this about sunset. Okay, so it's starting to look like this. 7:35, the sun starts setting, but it can be 30 to 90 minutes before the sun completely sets and it's completely dark. There's a whole bunch of scientific things for the different, there's 3 different levels of sunset. So when you read online that sunset was at this time, then it doesn't mean it's dark. So now she's out, she's parked here, and maybe she's going swimming, maybe she's taking a bike ride. But if it's not even dark, if it's 90s, it's a Monday night, it's not a weekend, but it's a very popular tourist area and people love going there. Why does no one see Tiffany? I find that interesting. And no one even talks about this issue, and it bugs me. If the people live here, they might be going to the cars. They might be walking. There might be other bikers and whatever. No one sees Tiffany. Why not? If it's not totally dark, why don't they see her riding around or swimming in the water? There's not one other person riding a bike, swimming in the water, or walking to the parking lot. I don't buy that. So it's hard to believe that Tiffany ever was actually there because to do something on her own, because no one saw her. But that's where her car was found. All right, so and here's the end of the whole thing. You can see the car here would be that little red dot, and you can see it, then it goes down to a narrow point. It's just a beautiful beachy area. Probably does have pretty sunsets and all of that stuff, but the question is, all right, so the car is found there. Now, the car is found there, and the mom gets there. She looks in, the police stop her from going into the car. And the mom looks in and she sees, and this is very, very weird to me and a very important part of this case. She sees her purse, her phone, and supposedly her purse or phone. She says I don't know if it was an iPad or some other kind of thing that she was using, but that was there too. Right there, apparently in plain sight, and in the back is her car, is her bicycle, and those paintings supposedly. Now, one of the things I wanted to know is, was the car locked or wasn't the car locked? Because this is important. From what I've heard, trying to go through everything, it says the car was not locked. And the keys were in the car, not with Tiffany, apparently. The keys were in the car. So this leads to a whole bunch of questions here. Let's say we're talking about the suicide theory. Well, the suicide theory, she wouldn't care about anything. She'd just get out of the car and go drown herself. So, but they never found her body, and they don't believe she could have drowned here because they just say her body would have come back onto the beach and there was nothing. So the suicide thing is a little wimpy because there was really no proof that she was going to commit suicide. I know people say, oh, well, you never know. That's true. And she was a little depressed. She was having money problems, but was that really what that was her intention? I suppose she has a very close connection with her family, and she liked to have lots of fun and dreams. Would she really not go to her family for help when they've helped her so many times? Would she just drive to the beach and walk in? And that would be the only explanation I can see where nobody else was involved, that her car would have those items in plain sight and be unlocked. The next possibility would be that she drove to that location, had her stuff there and her keys in there, and got out of the car to talk to somebody and was abducted. Possible? Possible. So we got to keep that one in mind, because that would explain why the stuff is still in the car. There's some who think that maybe she got out of the car, rode her bike, And then somebody attacked her, like a serial killer attacked her. And while she was riding a bike, and this is some of the theories that don't make any damn bit of sense. And then what? Put her bike back in the car? And what do they do? And their bodies have never been found. So no, that's just silly. If she rode her bike someplace, she had to come back with the bike and put it in the car. The tires had some sand on them, and it was in the back of the car, and there was no sand in the front of the car. So one of the things police thought was weird was that if she'd been riding the bike and she put the bike back in, wouldn't you think she too would have sand on her feet? But there's no sand in the front of the car. Then they surmised maybe she went bicycle riding, put the bike back, and then went for a swim and then drowned. And that's why there's no possible. But again, no body was ever found, and it seems a little odd. It just seems like an odd time, it's sunset that that's the time you decide to go bicycling and swimming. But her family says she's a little, one of those free kind of people. Maybe she did do that. All right. So, but nobody saw her, mind you, nobody saw her swimming. Nobody saw her biking. Nobody saw her around that car ever. So what's another reason that the car would have all of her stuff in it and just be sitting there? Now, I don't know where the keys were. This is something I want to point out again. Where the keys are makes a difference. I have parked my car places, usually around my residence, or and I have, if you, for example, let's say you're at the beach and you want to go swimming, but you're afraid to take your keys with you because you're afraid you lose your keys. You don't want to leave them on the beach. You don't have a place to hide them on the beach, and you don't want to take them with you swimming. So you leave them in your car. But what you do then is you hide the freaking keys in the car. You know what I mean? You hide them in some place. Nobody's going to find them until you come back and get your keys out. You don't leave the keys in the front seat because you think your car might be stolen then. So my question is, where are the keys? And I cannot come up with that piece of information. Where did they find the keys? Were they hidden, or were they in plain sight? Now, if they were hidden, it would mean more to me that she herself hid them. There's no reason anybody else would hide them, I wouldn't think. When keys are left in plain sight, along with a purse, phone, and some kind of maybe iPad, my thought is somebody wants that car to be stolen. In other words, they can leave the vehicle there, and at some point, some teenager or something will say, "Hey, look at that." And they will they will reach in, they'll take the car, they'll steal her crap. That's the only other possibility for me. So there's three things there. One, she went to the beach to go swimming or whatever, left the keys in the car, and drowned. Two, she met somebody. She was down there. I don't know. I'm not saying she met somebody down there, but she went down there and she was doing that same thing, and somebody just abducted her, in which case everything's just still sitting in the car. Or three, somebody left the car there to be found or to be stolen. That's another possibility. And left her stuff in plain sight so that other people's fingerprints and so on and so forth would be in the car. Nobody ever touched the car. 8 days went by and it's still sitting there with all the crap in it. So that's interesting. Now, they said the car was unlocked. I do not have proof of this. The car could have been locked. But then again, they found the keys in the car. So why would you lock the car and leave your keys in it? Or unless you did it by accident. No. Okay, so this is, her car's now found here, and she's never seen again. So now let's go to some thoughts on what could have happened to her. I'm going to stop here and get some of your comments. So I'm going to go through now is, what are the outstanding pieces of information for me? Could sex trafficking be involved? And the mom thinks that it's possible. And I've always tried to tell people how sex trafficking really works, where the concept is that you're kidnapped into sex trafficking. And the mom pointed out this story, okay? And I want to point it out to you because this is how things get misinterpreted. Let's see if I can find this one. Okay, hold on a second. Come on now, hold on a second. Is this the one? What the heck? Hold on a second. Yes, having problems again. I had this one set up and now it's gone missing. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to find it again. Have patience. Okay. There, in Panama City, the mom found there was a woman who was kidnapped from the front yard, and she said, "See," and she was kidnapped into sex trafficking. So this makes people think, "Oh my God, uh, this happens. This really happens. People are just kidnapped out of their front yard." Well, what's very interesting about that story, and I can't find it now, but a woman was kidnapped out of her front yard by two men. And then when you read the story, and she's like, "Oh, she's been rescued. She found help. She got rescued." And she says these two men kidnapped me out of the front yard. And then they said they took her back to sex trafficking. So in other words, she'd been already in prostitution. She wasn't a complete innocent, just out there, putting flowers in her yard, and she was grabbed. No, she had already been in prostitution, and she had left, and they came to get her. Okay, because what happens in sex trafficking, and there's a really interesting story. I'm going to link this one before, um, and this is talking about a place, New Orleans, and this is where the woman was taken. It was to New Orleans, right? Uh, and this is why the mom of Tiffany is going, "Oh my God, she might have been kidnapped by sex traffickers and taken to New Orleans, where there's a lot of a problem there because it's on a corridor where there's, a lot of, different avenues of coming into that location. There's a lot of events like Mardi Gras happening. And so girls are moved around, and guys too, moved around for the purposes of prostitution. But the one thing I was very appreciative of in this particular article is they point out, which is what I point out constantly, the most common victims of commercial sex trafficking are runaways, teens with drug addiction who have been abused in foster care or with mental illness, unemployed and desperate for work, male, female, transgender, um, and some social media stuff where these are desperate people looking for a way out of their lives, a way to make money. The runaways, they're rarely, very, almost never in this country. And I pointed out in other countries, it's not the same. In this country, you don't have the sex traffickers. I call most of them pimps, but they don't have to kidnap people off their front lawns and start a massive police investigation. That's stupid. When they've got all the runaways and drug addicts and everybody else that just falls into their little paws, they don't need to do that crap. They don't need to. And so people have this concept that anybody, just anybody, can be a victim of sex trafficking and end up as a prostitute. No. And there was actually one of the things that somebody had said, they had cited Tiffany, and they had cited Tiffany in over here in a place called, I don't even know what the heck, 2 hours and 50 minutes away. She was supposedly seen in a restaurant with another woman her age, or a young woman her age, and an older Hispanic woman. And some waitress thought that was Tiffany, and never reported it, mind you, for 5 months, but thought they acted weird. Well, she's in a restaurant. If she wants to get away, she just has to say, "Hey, I need to go home." I mean, she hasn't been in captivity like, I think Elizabeth Smart, they talked about how she was taken into public and she didn't raise any kind of, hey, help me. Well, that was because she had been in a situation with where she had been kept in captivity for long enough where she was afraid to do things like raise a signal because she was been threatened and so on and so forth. And so she and I know somebody's going to say, "Hey, what's that called?" I'm drawing a complete blank. When you identify with a kidnapper. Bless it. Okay, I'm going to put this in here just because I've just drawn a complete freaking blank. I hate it when I do that. I mean, I know the word. I just lost my mind here. Stockholm syndrome. Live shows are so fun. They make you look stupid. Stockholm syndrome. So Elizabeth Smart probably had Stockholm syndrome. But if Tiffany Daniels had ended up in prostitution and wasn't being kept in a basement or in captivity, and she was out at restaurants and walking about, like some people thought they saw her walking on that same beach. Come on now. She could just say, "Help." and she could get help. I don't believe for a minute that she was suffering from Stockholm syndrome. I don't believe anybody saw her anyplace. These are the kind of stupid tips you get in. I do not believe Tiffany Daniels was kidnapped into sex trafficking. I want to point out this one thing as a kind of this is something else they talk about young women, especially young women and young men. Again, there's a lot of males who get into this too. Or this is cyber safety stuff. You're online and you're putting out crap online. Beware of posts. So they'll try to suck you in. Don't show your location. So people say, oh, she's right down the street from me. Don't friend and communicate with or meet strangers. You don't know who the hell this person is. Stay away from them. Never post pictures you can't take back. Don't use, and this is interesting, the last two are great. Hashtag nobody understands me or hashtag I need to get out of here. Because you're letting people know you're desperate. And those predators will come out. And yes, the sex traffickers, pimps, whatever you want to call them, will say, hey, this girl needs a place to stay. Now, hey, I can be your boyfriend. I can help you out. Hey, we can I know a job in a restaurant you can get. Why don't you? And then they push them into, usually they're not even forced. They're pushed. And hey, why don't you just go with this dude? You can make $100. And they do it. And then they get whole caught up in that. And then then they become this whole community. They become attached. And sometimes then when they want to get away, the guy will beat them up. Then you do have a problem with the fact that you're essentially under threat of being abused, hurt, killed if you walk away, because they're making good money off of you at that point and they don't really like you leaving. So, but do I think Tiffany Daniels was kidnapped into sex trafficking? No, I do not. So now we have to look at one other possibility. Could she have gotten into a situation by way the same way she was on Craigslist? We do know that for getting the roommate. And then could she have gone on Craigslist? Some people thought to sell art. And yes, you can. And it's interesting. Yes, in that at that time, you could actually put pictures on. I looked to see if you could put pictures on Craigslist at that point in time, because if you can't put pictures up, you can't sell your art. But at that point, you could put pictures up. So I checked that out. Did she put some pictures up? The 3 pictures, and say, would you like to buy them? And and somebody said, yes, I'll meet you. Okay, possible. But are you really going to go to Santa Rosa Island, drive 30 minutes to an isolated spot? Why would you do that? Why don't you just tell the guy to come to your house and pick up the damn pictures? That makes no sense to me, unless he actually lived in that condo there, and then he kidnaps you right there. I mean, that's so unlikely and unrealistic. I can't go with that. I think it's silly. The other possibility that people pointed out, and this is not totally unrealistic, she couldn't pay her bills. She couldn't get gas. She tells she's going to take off some days from work. Did Tiffany find a way, because people did that through Craigslist, to get involved in prostitution for thinking, I'll do it for a short period of time. I will sleep with a couple guys. I'll make some money and I can pay my bills and go back to my normal life. Is that possible? I think that's more possible when she got kidnapped into sex trafficking. And could she have met somebody and then gone with them to make money just for those few days, and then they killed her? Because Johns will kill. The trick you turn, some of them are dangerous. And so yes, you could be with a guy who kills you then and then disposes of you. But would you be driving down to Santa Rosa Island to meet somebody for prostitution? Again, seems really unlikely, unless that guy was in that, remember that condo right there? Unless she met him in that condo. I'll show you the condo again. There's no reason to go down there to meet somebody for sex. I mean, you go down to, I don't know, you go more locally, I would think. But okay, maybe he says, I'm in this condo. So she parks in that lot, she goes in this guy's house, and he kills her. But then you have to ask yourself, if she did that, why is there stuff in the car? Wouldn't she take her purse? Wouldn't she take her keys? That makes very little sense, unless he killed her and then put everything back in the car. Possible? Probable? No, but you would think then there would be some evidence that she was looking for prostitution work to make some money. Would it be on her computer? Would it be a Craigslist ad? Would it be on her phone? Somewhere. But there's no evidence, as far as I know, that she ever contacted anybody to make money that way. But people ask, well, why the heck then did she want to take off of work for a few days? If she needed the money, why would she take off of work if she needed to make money? And again, this is very hard to understand, and it is very concerning. So I don't have a good clue on that. I don't. But I think that you do wonder why she would take off of work when she needs to earn a living, unless she was going to make some quick money. And selling her paintings, could she make enough quick? Why would she take off 3 or 4 days of work to sell her paintings? That doesn't make sense either. So to me, the only way she could make quick money would be prostitution. But I have no evidence that she hooked up with anybody for that purpose. So that's a good question. Then why would she go missing that night? I mean, if she didn't hook up with anybody. So I'm going to keep over there that there's some realism that she could have hooked up, try to get some quick money through sex work. But there's no evidence of it. And I still don't know why her car would be down on Santa Rosa Island. That just makes very little sense to me. So could she have been killed by, let's go back to our suspect list then. All right. So then I'm going to stop for a minute, and then I'm going to go to, already, I think, I don't believe in the serial killer theory on the Santa Rosa Island, because literally her body would have been found, and her body should have been found, unless they just never found her body and she just got killed and left there. Could she have drowned, left everything in the car, gone there and drowned, and they just, in spite of the fact they should have found her body? Yes, they didn't. Possible. The serial killer killed her, dumped her body in the ocean, and they just never found it. Possible. She could have gone and met somebody for sex work, and they killed her. It's possible, but I just don't know why her car would be down there. So we either have she drove down there with her car and something happened there, okay? Because this is a place she would go to. So this is not like, why would she even be in that location? When people like carjack you or jump in your car and put a gun to your head and say drive, and then they rape and murder them, their car may be left in places they've never been in. But the fact is her car was left in a place she goes to. So you would think she had actually gone there. That would make sense. She comes home from work. She does a little bit on a computer. She decides she's going to go down to the Santa Rosa place. Maybe she's going to start her venture the next day. She goes to that location, parks her car, and something happens to her there. And so somebody, either she got out of the car and a serial killer grabbed her and took her away. Let me fix that again. I don't think a serial killer killed her there and they haven't found her body. It'd be more likely a serial killer, she got out of her car and another car pulled up, grabbed her, and took her off that island and killed her someplace else. Is that possible? Yes. So the serial killer thing to me does have some possibilities. I think it's pretty unlikely that she was getting sex works down there, because I don't see any. How freaky would it be that there happened to be, her first trick happened to be in that condominium right there, and then she went missing that night? It's unlikely. That she could have drowned and we just haven't found her body, possible. But I want to know where everything is in the vehicle. All right. Those are some possibilities. Then the only other possibilities are, I can't do my hands right, these two guys. A lot of people suspect Bob. They say, look, we think he gave a phony story about her leaving. We think he knew what was going on, and he did something to her, and he knew she wasn't going to. Well, he didn't even give that story till later, mind you. So maybe she hooked up with him later. Like he said, I can sell some paintings for you. So she put the paintings in the car, and he was going to help her with that. And then he did something to her, killed her, and dumped her car on Santa Island. And he's the one who did something to her. And then he made up the story that she's leaving town, so that nobody would look at him. So a lot of people think of him. Then people think of the roommate, who is sketchy as heck too. Creepy older dude sitting on the couch with her. He's only been there 2 weeks. He's suddenly so concerned about what happened to this girl. Is he just setting up, hey, I cared about her, therefore don't look at me as a suspect. I immediately contacted, my daughter and asked if she knew what happened to her. And so I'm not a guy who's involved in this. But theoretically, he could have been the last person that saw her, because she did go home, theoretically, to the house. And he was there. So did something happen in the house that he did something to her and then had to dispose of her body? And then he's just trying to, and by the way, he moved to Italy a year later, stayed in Italy the rest of his life, and he died. or I think died 3 years ago. So he's not around anymore. So those are the suspects. I want to get your thoughts, and I'm going to tell you one piece of information that stands out to me that just bugs me. But I want to see what you have to say because I know I've been away for a long time on this because there's just so much information. Um, Alexander says, why would you take the rest of the week off for a swim or a bike ride? Well, you wouldn't. I mean, she could have been planning to take the rest of the week off and just decided before she did that, wherever she was going or doing, she just enjoyed the evening. That's possible. Um, uh, I have not heard anything about polygraphs at all. If this roommate did something to her, he could not have foreseen that she allegedly said she was going to take time off. No, I don't think no. If he did something to her, he had nothing to do with knowing she was going to take time off. If he did something to her, he was just trying to say she didn't come home. Nobody knew about the supposed time off for a while. Now she could have planned to take time off. She could have come home and told him, "I'm going to go do this," and he knew about it. I mean, I don't think that makes any difference. Only for Bob does it make a difference. If Bob is making that story up, then that would be because in other words, she didn't come to work, and wouldn't he be weirded out that she didn't come to work? Why didn't he call somebody and say, hey, she's not come to work? So now his explanation is, well, she told me she was taking a few days off. Either she did tell him she took a few days off and that's why I wasn't worried, or he's lying. So there's a couple possibilities there. So yes, we don't actually know, but she may have, and that might be why he wasn't worried. So let's see what Midgie has to say. If she was killed earlier and someone drove her car to the island, they would need to know she regularly visited there. Otherwise, it's a heck of a coincidence. Very good, Midgie. I like it. All right, Midgie, absolutely true. It would be if she didn't drive to the island, somebody else drove the car to the island to make it look like she'd gone there. They would have to know she did that. Now, I'm going to throw this out to you now, and then I'm going to go back to your comments because this is something that really sits with me. Okay, let's look at the island again. Okay, let's put the island up here in the background, just the basic of the island. Okay, let me see if I can see this picture myself. Okay, so this is where her car is found. If somebody remember when she went through the toll thing, it takes a picture of the license plate. It doesn't take a picture of her. So she's only says the car came over. Then her car is found here. All right. Now, one thing to notice is her car isn't found really far away from the toll booth. It's found fairly close to the toll booth. That's just important to know. Now, let's say she didn't drive, somebody else drove the car, dumped her someplace else, drove the car here and left her car here to mislead everyone. They leave the car here. Now, let me ask you this question right now. If they leave the car here, how did they get out of here? What would be your answer for that? How would they get out of there? Think about it. I want to see some of your comments. How would they leave then? That's a great question. Oh my God, I love it when you're smart. Was the seating position changed or moved? Don't I wish I know? This is what I'm talking about. That's a piece of information I don't have. I'm sure they must have checked that because she would have a position which would fit her body. What about if a tall dude got in there? Then he might change that position of the front seat. Then again, he might have realized he had to move the seat back and then moved it back. Now, if the seat were far back, there will be absolute evidence somebody else drove it. But if the seat were in the correct position, either she drove it or he was smart enough to move it back. So that's a great question, though. Very good. Someone dumping the car would have to get across that bridge somehow. Correct. All the way back to Pensacola, which is a 30-minute drive. How would they get back? What do you think? Boat. One of the guy, I think the guy that does all the map stuff on the one I'm linking, wondered whether somebody could have come in on a boat and taken her away. And I couldn't find that there was really any good reason for a boat, but good question. Lisa says, now mind you, it's getting dark. Walk, swim, or got a ride. Okay. quite, that's possible, but you have to have somebody, then somebody would have to be in on it in you if they were giving you a ride. That's just, or you could have hitchhiked. Possible, possible. Yeah, somebody else says also hitchhike. I don't know about, I don't think Uber was even around back then, but you know, you'd be, I mean, if you're going to leave somebody's car there because you just killed them, I don't think you call Uber. But you also said biking. How interesting. You say biking. Uh, yes, and yes, also, can you ride a bike across the bridge? Good question. So that's what I looked at. So now I want to show you something about coming back, the bridge issue and the possibility of biking. All right, here we go. All right, now let's take a look at this. Okay, this is 31 minutes by car. Do you see here on the bridge, there's some arrows. That's because they added bike lanes. Okay, there were bike lanes. Now, let me see. I think I pulled, hold on a second. No, I'm having missing things again. Ah, for God's sakes, what is that? What's that bridge called? Hold on a second. I gotta find the name of the bridge because I'm having issues again here. Hold on a second. Yes, I did have this thing set out here and somehow it went missing again. Okay, let me see. Maybe it went to a different tab area. Hold on. Okay, no, it's not there. Okay, hold on. I gotta find the name of the bridge. And then what happened was they had bike lanes on the bridge. I just want to be sure, and this is what you have to be careful of when you're doing investigating, especially when things are 10 years older. Okay, it's called the Bob Sykes Bridge, and I had put out I had a thing on this, but I again lost it. Okay, I'm going to put in to my Google here when it shows up. Okay, Bob Sykes Bridge bicycle lane, and that's what I had there before. And for some reason, I must have accidentally Bob Sykes Bridge bicycle. Okay, it says. Okay, here we go. Now, when did this happen? Now I got to figure this out. Visitors to Pensacola Beach may encounter some new sights when they arrive. On the Bob Sykes Bridge, a 9-foot section to the right of the outside driving lane is now delineated as a 5-foot walking path and a 4-foot bicycle path. And that is, this says 2021. Do you see this here? That's not the one I wanted. Oh, this is the bicycle thing. If you took a bicycle across here, it would take an hour. Now, I looked at that because I thought it was interesting that if sundown is about, now it's getting dark about 9 o'clock. Finally, it's dark enough so you can sneak, let's say you've driven her car and you've kind of hid the car for a while and it's getting dark enough. You dump it here and you take your bicycle out of the back. Somebody who likes bicycling, like her roommate, and he puts his bicycle in the back of that vehicle and he pulls the bicycle out, jumps on it, and he bicycles back. Takes him an hour. He'd arrive home about 10 o'clock. And if he actually did make that phone call on the night she went missing, like some say he did, but some say he didn't, like the mom later says he didn't, then you would think, did he just arrive home and then call his daughter and go, I don't know where she is, as if that's an alibi for him? But now we run into this problem. It's a really good theory. Oh, I love that theory. Man, I was hot on that. But now I'm looking at this thing. It says 2021. Okay, so now the question comes in. You see how difficult these things get? I'm going to see, when did they build the stupid, when did they put, that says 2021. Let's see. Okay. So it appears they did not necessarily back then, when she went missing, have a bike lane. However, then you read this: Panhandle medical examiner is killed by a hit and run driver. This is 1998, way before. Okay, apparently he was killed by a hit and run driver as he pedaled his bicycle over a bridge. I'm back to my theory is possible. All right. So Dr. Fenner McConnell died Sunday when he was struck by a car that veered into the bike lane on Bob Sykes Bridge, which connects the Pensacola suburb to Santa Rosa Island. This was 1998. So what they did was they built a very separate lane so that it was safe. So now what happens? So the cars can't hit you anymore. But you know probably why they built that was because people got killed on that bridge in a bicycle lane that obviously didn't separate from the cars. Okay, so my theory's back on. So could somebody have dumped her car, taken his bicycle out, and bicycled back? The answer to that is absolutely. Now, I found it interesting that Rumi, the roommate, supposedly liked bicycling just like she did. He's the last person to see her. He's awful interested in this very young girl. Did something happen in that house? And he put her in the vehicle, dumped her, then drove the car there, made sure everything was in the front seat, hoping somebody steal the damn car. Our fingerprints will get in there, jump on his bicycle and bicycle back to home, and then call and say, hey, I don't know where she is. Or maybe he didn't wait till the next day and tell his daughter, oh, she never came home last night. I don't know which one, because the information is terrible. But can it be done? Yes, it can. So when you go back and look at the suspects here, oh my. So we have now the suspicion on this guy. First of all, I don't know that he bicycles because if he drove her car down there, is he a guy to bicycle? I don't know that he is. I haven't heard anything about that. And if he's not a bicycler, it's just not a natural thing to do that. Secondly, her car, she did supposedly go home. Then she would have to go back and meet up with him someplace. And he would have to do something to her, get rid of her body, then take the car down there and bicycle away, because there's really, okay, I guess theoretically you could run off and try to hitchhike, but you know, I think somebody to remember. So I don't find that makes any sense he did anything to her. Just even if it was a little bit of a flirt, or maybe even did a little, you know, young college girls, he might have had a little dalliance. I have no idea. He convinced her to stay anyway. I don't know that he had any reason to kill her off. You know what I mean? I don't have a lot of people think Bob did it. I just don't see any evidence there at all. Now the police seem to not think they interviewed him and they liked him and they thought, hey, this seems like a nice guy to me. Concerned, he's a dad and his daughter's friend went missing and he was concerned, so he made the phone call, so it couldn't be him. But there's enough things that just don't sit right with me with this guy that I would put him on the top of my suspect list. I would. Something about him. The fact that he would move in with a young girl is wrong to begin with. That's just creepy. The fact that he was only there 2 weeks, was so concerned about her when he knows exactly how college girls act. Really, is he that? I got to find out what's going on with her. Seems odd. That he heard her going in and out. We don't know if that's true. And then he couldn't hear her later on. That she did supposedly come home when he was there. And therefore, he would have been either the last person to see her or the person to do something to her. And then the fact that he would know that she very well would know that she went to Santa Rosa Island to bicycle and thought that's a good place to dump a vehicle. I can take my bicycle and bring it back. Now, mind you, I want to point out one of the things we also don't know. Her mother said that in the back, her bicycle was had sand. They said they had sand on the tires. I don't know what that exactly means, but the mother said that bicycle was broken down. In other words, one of these things where you take to fit in place, you take the tires off and handlebars and stuff. And she said she didn't know that she ever did that kind of thing, which is interesting to me because I don't know if the bike fit in the back, why would she do it? Only because maybe the paintings were in there. But if she wasn't driving away to another location and moving away, why would she have to do that? I don't understand that. Another possibility is that you couldn't put two bikes in there, so you broke one down and wanted to look like she took the bike. I mean, there's all kinds of things we could just theorize on. I don't know. I never heard that the bike was broken down except for the mother said that, and I don't know the accuracy of that either. I also don't know because I cannot physically look at this vehicle. I also don't know whether two bikes can fit in the back of there. I don't. So there you go. That could be a completely bad theory because maybe you can't even put two bikes in that damn thing. So These are the things that when you're investigating a case or profiling, can throw you completely off. And that's why I say I don't solve cases here, because I am so missing pieces of information that if I only knew them, I go, oh, then that wouldn't be possible. I have a lot of interviews I would do in this case. I would have a lot of examinations I would do of the bicycle, the back of the car, find out about how good her art was. I'd look at her computer stuff. I mean, there's so many things I would do if I had the opportunity, which I don't. It's still unsolved case. She's still missing. So there are a number of possibilities. And that's why this case, it just remains for a lot of people, like people can't figure it out because of that. Let me check some more of your comments. What? Okay, wait a minute here. Stephanie says, I have a vague memory of there being something strange with a housemate's truck. The housemate's truck? I don't know anything about that. And again, this is the problem when you're trying to get information, you can't get it officially. You're getting like the Discovery one. And let me tell you, people think that because a TV producer, some production company, some network puts out a show that it's accurate. And I can tell you, having worked enough of these things, they are some of the most inaccurate garbage out there. So just because it's fancy doesn't mean it's true. And then you got all the YouTubers, and you don't know where the heck they got their information from either. So that's always questionable. And then on top of that, family members sometimes don't even tell you the truth, or they're confused, or you just don't know. And that's why I say when people go on these YouTube channels, go crazy and do 50 things on it and say, we're going after this guy and this guy and this guy. I'm like, you don't even know what the facts are, quite frankly. I don't trust the man in the cap. Nothing wrong with his cap. That's interesting. I know I was married to a Jamaican. It almost looks like a Jamaican cap from where I'm sitting. I always liked the cap. Anyway, wait a minute. Martin said something. So, and Deanie says, Martin. Okay, she's laughing. So let me go to you, Martin, because I wanted to ask you from a male point of view. Now I'm going to try to go up there and find the last thing Martin said. Oh my God, where are you, Martin? There's been a lot of chit chat here. So, Martin, you've gone missing. I can't even find out what she's laughing at. Oh, that's a nice comment. I like that. Lisa asks, you always bring up questions and things I'd never think to do. This is the point of the channel. It's thinking how we should think about things and how we should analyze things. As far as Leslie, I've heard nothing about CCTV. I don't know how good the CCTV was anywhere, but apparently she's never been seen on CCTV I don't know. But here, she met someone earlier and he dumped her body and abandoned the car. That could be, but the problem is the location that the car was abandoned at is someplace she would go, and that's what makes it interesting. Where is my Martin? Martin, where did you go? I wonder if I can. Where are you, Martin? I can't find your funny comment. I'm looking forward to it, and I also want to know what you think. What the heck? I cannot find it anyplace here. I don't think I can do a search on the chat, so I may never find it. But pointing out, Austin is a huge art community. It is, but doesn't mean you can succeed there just because it's big. That's the problem. So yeah, it does have one, but Pat's computer is part of the Bermuda Triangle. It is so weird because I can't imagine what happened. I think it might have something to, I don't know. I don't even know. That was so weird because I put those pictures up there before and they were gone. Let's see. I cannot find you, Martin. What happened to you? Okay, Martin, what did you say that was so funny? I can't find it down here either. I wish oh, wait a minute. Okay. Oh, your only comment was on the cap. Was that it? I like the cap. This I don't like. That's kind of creepy because that's just a fake picture. I like the cap. Okay, I'm not gonna be against a do because of the cap. Okay. So Martin, what do you think about the two dudes? I'm asking you for a male perspective on this. So it's hard to disappear in today's digital age, whether any phone pings or bank account activity. The answer to that is no. Apparently, she had a phone that was on minutes and wasn't working or something was fishy about that, because she couldn't pay for stuff. And so she had this, I don't know, apparently not. She was never traceable at all. And her purse was there with her wallet in it. So there's no bank account activity because her wallet was in the car. So no, she literally disappeared that day, never to be seen again. Absolutely not. Oh, I want to point out one more picture for you guys. This is from my fellow that I've linked here. He made this kind of, I thought this was just worthwhile to recognize. Hold on a second, I gotta find it. Not that one. Let's see, which one is it? This one. Okay, this was interesting because you see on the left, this is where the car was seen going over the bridge, and that's where Tiffany's car was found. And then you'll see that line. He's got a little arrow going up there. He's pointing out 3 other bridges which do not have any tolls on them. So theoretically, someone could have gone out of that area on one of the other 3 bridges, obviously to a more isolated area, not right straight back into Pensacola. So you know it's a long way to go that way. But somebody also pointed out, because there were some people at the condo, this condo place, there were some people who claimed her car wasn't there the day she went missing, that it showed up like 3 days later. And it's really hard to know. These people just don't know, because I mean, first of all, gray SUV, not unlikely. They may just not have seen the car, and who knows? I don't know. There's a couple people, and it's always, witnesses are always questionable. And I don't mean that wonderful witnesses out there that you're lying dogs and you don't know what you're saying. But sometimes some people call in stuff just for the fun of it. Some people think they saw that. Some people are right and some people are wrong. That's all there is. But if her car wasn't there, in other words, if it came over the bridge but wasn't seen there, then the car could have theoretically, not that it, where'd it go? Theoretically, somebody could have come over the bridge, Michaela or somebody else, and driven the other direction and gone back over one of the other bridges back toward Pensacola, done something for a couple days, and then come back again on one of those other bridges so they weren't seen, and then go down and park the car down there. I don't believe it, and I'll tell you why I don't believe it, because it's pointless. And people don't say, I'm going to make sure my car or her car is seen at this toll, and then I'm going to sneak around. If she just wanted to leave, she'd just get in her car and go wherever she's going to go. She doesn't have to do a circuitous route, and neither does some guy. I mean, if he brings her car down there, why is he running around someplace else for 2 days and bringing it back? Really, what's the point? So usually if you're trying, she either went there or somebody else went there. So I don't believe that, but I thought it was an interesting point that he brought up, that there were other bridges that theoretically the car could have left on and come back on. And although I don't think it happened, I respect, this is not gossip. This is not stupid YouTuber stuff. This is just somebody saying, hey, this is true. This could happen. This car could do that. And you can consider it without being unreasonable about it, shall we say. So in theory, for example, let's say somebody did something to her, took the car across the bridge, and then circled back, went on one of those other bridges, dumped her body someplace, and then brought the car back. That could happen, just so that they could be seen going over earlier and then go take care of her, bring the car back when it's dark, take the bicycle out, and then bicycle over. So that I can see happening, but it would still be basically the same concept. Wait a minute, that night though, I wouldn't think they go away for 2 days and come back to park the car. I just don't see the point in it. I think under those conditions where you've done something to somebody, that's a lot of work. And it makes no sense for her either, because she's not hiding from anybody. And she's an adult. She has every right to get in her car and go wherever she damn well pleases. So I would assume if she went to Santa Rosa Island at that point in time, she went there either to enjoy herself for that last evening before she was going to do whatever she's going to do, or she went there for some other purpose. But she just went there. And I believe if somebody did something to her and dumped the car there, they went there right away. So it'd have to be somebody who knew her to dump the car there. That's why I have problems believing if she were abducted, she could be abducted after she left the car there. That I believe is possible. But I don't believe she went someplace else with sex traffickers and then got killed and then somebody brought her car back. I mean, I can't even, it's that day. They'd have to be there that day. So that makes no sense at all. So she either went there on her own and drowned or got abducted, or she didn't go there and somebody dumped the car there because they knew that's where she could go and wouldn't be suspicious that she would have gone there. And that would be, if that happened, it would have to be probably one of these two guys. And if I had to pick one of them, I'd pick this one. But don't know. Don't know. And I don't have enough evidence to be absolute on this. Leslie says, I have to say this case was a great pickup, really kick up the analysis and think of tons of questions that we need answers to. Well, we don't need the answers to, the police do, because we're not solving the case. The police need to figure this out. It's been 10 years. And this guy's dead, so that kind of eliminates him. I mean, you could still find out if he did it, but I don't know how. And they haven't found her body, so that's always the problem when you don't know where somebody's body is. And I don't know how much they didn't do. Like, how well did they search the house? How well did they search his vehicle? How well did they? What questions did they ask him? I mean, did they do a polygraph? I don't know any of this stuff. And same with this dude. Don't know. I really don't know. Stephanie says, I'm leaning toward the housemate. It's always ups my suspicion when someone moves or leaves the area right after they were in proximity to a crime. That's very true. And another thing is interesting about why somebody calls in a crime that they may have committed. One of the reasons is if let's say it was this guy, you dump the car, you bicycle back, and now you're home and she's not there. And every minute that goes by, you're wondering what, you want it to end. You kind of want it to, okay, usually it's a body. It's like, haven't they found that body yet? Oh, wait. I forgot. One of the things that happened was he was talking with the mom. The last time he talked to the mom, which was a couple of weeks later, he asked, did the police arrest anybody yet? And she thought that was really weird because she's like, we don't even know if it's a crime. Interesting. But sometimes what happens is you get impatient to have it be over. So you want the car to be found. You want the body to be found. And you also don't want to deal with it anymore. So getting out of there so you don't have to be there and have the people look at you suspiciously. And every day you get up and friends are coming over and families coming over and you're still living in the damn place and they're questioning you and you just want to get the hell out of there. So yes, that is always something to take a look at. It's not proof, but it's something to take a look at. Let's see. Midgie also likes the housemaid because his claim not to have heard or come home from work is unlikely. It's concerning. I mean, theoretically, it could be like really involved with a conversation with the girlfriend. And I'd like to know, if I were the police, of course, I would want to see his phone information. I want to know how long he was talking to his girlfriend, exactly what times he was talking to his girlfriend. And I want to know what the girlfriend has to say. I hope they followed that up, but I don't know. Midgie says, I think it's unlikely that a girl who lives with housemates doesn't have a password set on her computer. You would think that, but it's amazing how many people don't do safety things. They don't. It's just crazy. The Colonial Parkway. I am going to do the Colonial Parkway murders at some point. So don't worry, it will come up because a lot of people have asked me that, and I have been in Virginia and I've dealt with this case in years past. But I have to do a lot of research on it because I can't remember what I used to think about it. But yeah, I will get to that one. So don't worry about it. Yeah. Let's see. I'm going to go back up a little bit. Oh, okay. Martin says, I think the cap guy is the most likely because of circumstantial evidence if it was a homicide. If it was a homicide, I think he comes on the higher list of suspects if it was a homicide. So I agree with you, Martin, but we just don't have enough to say what actually happened. Tracy says she arrived, went to take a quick swim, left her stuff in the car because she went swimming, left her keys there too, could see her car from where she was swimming. Possible. This is possible. And that's why there is still the possibility that she drowned. And this, you think of these things and you think, You could spend a decade, like the police have, thinking that everybody's guilty around her, and it could be something that's simple. That's exactly what happened. But I will say this: I still supposedly the mother could look in and see her purse right there, and her phone right there, and some other tablet right there. I don't know, but I've been to the beach, and I've parked wherever I've parked. The one damn thing I don't do is leave my iPad noticeable, my money noticeable, my purse noticeable, my keys noticeable. I will, if I'm going to get out for a while, I'll take that crap, throw it in the trunk or hide it. And if I'm going to leave the keys there, I'm going to hide the keys in the car, even if it's left open. If so, but I'm not going to leave everything on the freaking front seat. That's the thing that really throws me. So it makes more sense that if she drove there herself, she got out of the vehicle to talk to somebody and was grabbed right then, and that's why everything is right there. Or she never drove there, and that's just a decoy thing, a staging kind of thing. But again, sometimes people do weird stuff. But when she got there, it wasn't. I said it was just sunset, and as I said, it may not be dark for 30 minutes to an hour. People walking by her car. Would you really leave your crap right there? Even if you, and if she's going to swim, let's look at the picture of from the car to the swimming area. I don't think. Okay, she's there. She's going to go swimming. I'm sorry, you cannot see what's happening back at your car. There's no way on God's earth. So you're leaving that car unattended with all your crap in it, available for people to steal. And people, again, it's not even dark yet. So there's got to be people from the condo. I mean, that's a parking lot for the condo. So there'd be other cars there, people coming out of their cars, seeing her car there. It just makes no sense to me. So I have a problem with her leaving the stuff there purposely on the front seat while she goes bicycling or swimming. Um, that's why and they haven't found her body. And they said because of the way things work there, her body should have come up. So I tend to lean away from accidental drowning, and I lean more toward if she went there, she got out of the car, was talking to somebody, and she was kidnapped. And therefore, that's why you're standing next to your car. But usually you have keys in your hand. But then again, you could have laid your keys on the seat and gotten out to talk to somebody and something happened. That's possible. There's so many. One really has to think through it to see if anything makes any damn sense. Let's see what else you have to say here. She's got a shark theory. Why not throw that shark in there? Throw the shark in. And so say Tracy thinks drowned by swimming. I say if it wasn't for the car crap, if her stuff was hidden in the car, I'd be more inclined to think that. I'd also like to know if she went swimming, where are her clothes? Where is her towel? That kind of thing. Because if you're going to go swimming, usually you have a towel nearby, so when you get out of the water, you can wrap up on the towel. Usually, just take your keys with you, for Christ's sake, and just put them under the towel. Because if you leave them on the beach and there's not that many people around, you can swim near the towel. I've done that, where you leave your phone and your keys hidden underneath a towel or hidden in a bag under a towel, and you can see it from where you're swimming around, so that if you see anybody coming close, you just hurry over there and jump up and make sure nobody messes with it. That makes sense, but not in a car. So I want to know where her clothes would have been, and where her towel would have been. Those kind of things would be interesting pieces of information. Let's see. The thing about the bills, well, apparently her mother didn't know the bills hadn't been paid. She did know that for some reason she was paying like other people's rent because they weren't paying their rent. She was behind on rent. She was using her money to pay rent. It's crazy. But I don't think her mother knew she was behind on the bills at that point in time, or that she couldn't put gas in her car. So apparently she hadn't gone to her mother for help at that point. I mean, she was 25. She's trying to be independent. But her parents had helped her out before. She seemed to make, I don't know, she was making some poor choices, or one bad choice. She got that that apartment, and she ended up being the landlord. You know what I mean? She might have a landlord herself, but she's got to rent out those other rooms, and that ain't fun. Um, and she could have just thought it would be easy to get people in there, and they just paid the rent, and found out that she was just too nice and was naive, and people moved in and just stabbed her in the back, and then she was, she had to pay. She had to pay the bills, and so this is why this guy at least had a job, and she thought, oh, good, he's got money to pay the bills. But I still don't understand why. Usually, when you move in, you pay a deposit. You pay your first and last months, and sometimes a deposit on top of that. I never let anybody move into my house who didn't do that, because if they didn't pay their money on the first, I want them out of there. I want them out of there. Let's see. Let's see what other great comments you have here. Wait a minute. Okay, but Kayla thinks it's an abduction. It would have to be an abduction from there. That's my opinion. I mean, it could be an abduction. She could have just gone there for the evening, and I say just got out of her car, was standing there, and somebody came and said, "Hey, can you tell me whatever?" And then possible. It's a weird place for an abduction. It is. I mean, it's isolated enough where you don't have a huge amount of traffic going there. On the other hand, it's getting to be sunset, and you got one creepo. Possible. And that's why you can't say this guy did it, because it is possible a serial killer got her into his car right there, drove off with her, and she's just wherever she ended up. And yeah, but the only thing that sets me off a little bit is this guy has had so many suspicious statements and behaviors, and he does have the bicycle to bicycle back across the bridge. I can't say it's not possible that something happened when she arrived home, and that he then disposed of her body and put the car there. I can't say that didn't happen. I can't say that it did, but I can't say that it didn't. So for me, the two top ones are roomie or abduction. So I would put those two as the if I were investigating this crime with only what I know now, and we're telling the police, I'd say, I'd look this guy as far as that goes, and I'd look over here at abduction. Those would be the two big ones. Because even if she went away to turn a trick or something to get some money to pay the bills quick, I just can't imagine that she drove her car down there. I just don't understand how that would happen without, yeah. But I don't know where supposedly she was going for 3 days and why, because if she was didn't have money for gas, she's behind on all these things. Where was she going to go to get money? And that is concerning. And that's why I think the mother still thinks, that sex trafficking is possible, because, but then again, why is her car down there with all her stuff in it? I can't imagine that she was going to turn a trick first time in her life, but she found a place that she could go and make some quick money. She could go to a massage parlor, because, I'm not talking about a legitimate one, but the massage parlor is where you can make money. And you can advertise on Craigslist. But chances are then you wouldn't be on that beach. You'd be going someplace else, and something happened to you, and your car would be in the street somewhere, or at an apartment complex, in the city. So I don't know. I find the fact that the car is down there is something that's very strange. No, I don't think so. I don't think anybody in Florida will go with that one. Yeah, sure. Mary's going with accidental or self-inflicted drowning. Maybe, but again, I don't know why the stuff is in the car there, and I want to know about it. I will say this: if she did go to drown herself, if it was suicide, that would make more sense for the crap being in the car, because you don't care then. You're not going back to the car. You don't care if the car gets stolen. You don't care if they take your phone. You don't care about your purse. You're not going back to the car. So that would in my opinion, make more sense than an accidental drowning, because I don't think she would have left the car with those things sitting there. If she left the house intending to kill herself, I don't know why she needed to take her purse at all, or her phone. You just grab the keys and say, "I'm out of here. I don't need the rest of the stuff." Yeah, it's I would say it's better than accidental drowning, but again, they never found her body, which is they believe would have surfaced. Um, so that's unique. And Deanie says, not in Florida, Martin. um, let's see. That says more like in Maine. Kate says people leave their cars running here if they just run into a store real quick. Yeah, I know people do that. I always say, you know what's really amazing is when they leave the kid in the back seat and go do that, and then some carjacker grabs the car and the kid's in the back seat. Not a bright thing to do. Turn the car off. Take the keys. um, Sandra, good question. See, I love it when I hear good questions come from people because these are things that, yes, you would want to know. Isn't parking at a condo permit parking only? There's a fort there and a park, and they said there was something. Oh, I forgot what they said. There was some reason why they didn't pay attention to the car. Can't remember what they said. Oh, if they have a missing person, somebody calls in a missing person at that lot because there's a fort there, and as I say, it's a fort and park. Um, uh, they call it fort something. That if they get a missing persons report, then they will go look. And if they found the car there and no person, they'd be concerned. And let me tell you a story because this is true for me. This happened to me once, and I went to Assateague Island, and that's the Assateague Islands in I think it's actually Virginia. I can't remember if you cross the line from Maryland and Virginia, but it's on Eastern Shore. And Assateague Island has the wild horses on it, and so I had been there before camping with people. Where you camp on the beach or near the beach, and you watch the horses running back. My family went there every year, but before this was when I was in my 20s. So one day I decided I was going to go camping by myself. So I drove there with my tent, and I put my tent up in the dunes. So my car was in the lot. I had the ticket for it from the park people. And then I went to the dunes and I camped. Well, if anybody's ever been to Assateague Island, they have a huge mosquito problem like you wouldn't believe. So I was trying to put the tent up and I got eaten alive by these mosquitoes. I was losing my mind. I couldn't get them off me. I don't know if I forgot spray. I don't remember. It's a long time ago. So, but I was going crazy. And then I decided I couldn't take it anymore. And I gave up and I packed up the tent, threw it in the car. And I don't remember if this was right away or halfway through the night in the dark. I said that I'm still being eaten alive, packed it up, threw it in there and drove out of there. I drove home. And I guess they don't have camera coming out or anything. It was just no cameras then. They just had the ticket. So they know how many people were in the park. So I drove home. So the next morning I get up and my mother and I are sitting in the kitchen. Thank God I was in the kitchen with my mother, right? So we're having a little breakfast or whatever. And the park people call my mother. I guess I don't know where they got that information from. I'm not even sure how that happened, but they called my mother they said, we cannot find your daughter. And she's missing. And my mother looked at me and go, no, she's right here in my kitchen. But apparently, I don't know whether they didn't know what car it was. They just had so many cars. I don't know how the whole thing worked, but I remember the phone call coming in because somehow I was missing. I was supposed to be in that spot or something. I don't remember. It's like 50 years ago. But yes, so if that location didn't have a missing person, they might have looked out and said, it doesn't matter about the cars. I don't know about the parking lot, whether they required you could only stay there for so long. You had a permit. That I do not know. That's a good question. Let's see. I forgot to mention that. Thank you for that question. Alexandra says, were there any fingerprints in the car? They found two, one unknown on the door handle and one unknown on the wheel. But they've never identified it. They ran it, never came back with anything. So whether that had anything to do with that night, that where the car was there, or it didn't have anything to do with that, that's really hard to know. It could have been something left from the time she could have like driven it someplace and somebody else, just prior to this at the college, touched the car and were talking with her, put their hand in. Could be anybody. It could be somebody who saw the car there and actually touched the car. It's hard to know, but they didn't ever identify it. That's all I can say. They didn't identify it matching anybody. Let's see. Maybe it's someone lives in the condos. That's possible. Possible. But again, we have to look at why the car is there. And again, she would have had to come there and then be, I don't know, unless there was a Craigslist thing where she was meeting somebody in that condominium for sex and they killed her. See, this thing is pretty unlikely, but and there's, as far as they know, there's no advertisements. She didn't answer anything that they know of. I assume they have their phone, her phone. They have her internet history. So I don't know. Um, Certainly didn't come up with anything. Let's see. Um, well, that's an interesting question, Midgie. Why take your paintings along to commit suicide? Well, this again comes down to we do not know when the paintings got in the vehicle. This is another problem. Now, Rumi says he heard her coming in and out at 3 to 5 in the morning. Why she would get up in the middle of the night to put paintings in her car, I don't know. Maybe she got a bug in her head and said, she just couldn't sleep and thought, I'm going to sell these things tomorrow. I'm going to take them over to Bob. Said he'd help me out. I don't know that he did, but Bob said he'd help me out sell my stuff. So I'm going to put them in the car. So I got them there. So when I wake up tomorrow morning, they're already in there. But then she gets to college and she doesn't give them to Bob. So why not? Some people said she sometimes had art at the college. So she could have picked up the art at the college and put it in the car to bring it home and didn't take it out of the car. I don't know. See, that's the thing. Don't know. And I say people with the concept that she was going someplace to sell them. Where? Because usually you have a place, you have to have nowhere to sell art. I mean, it's not that easy. I mean, first of all, I say most art doesn't sell. People don't want to recognize that, but it's true. I mean, just because you do art doesn't mean it sells. I mean, it's hard to sell crap. I mean, even people go in an art show and they put their stuff up and they're lucky to sell anything. You have to be a really good artist and you have to have good clientele, or you have to, I don't know. It's tough. Can you sell stuff? Sure. But she could have been going sit at a gas station corner with her 3 paintings and hoping somebody would come by and pay $25 for each one of them. That's possible. Maybe the concept could be, if it was like in the area she was going to, if it were during the day, she could have thought, well, there's people there, there's tourists and stuff. And maybe if I parked my car there and then put a few paintings out by my car, I could sell these to the people during the day. Now that would make more sense to me, because she could put up a little sign and, and if her stuff was halfway decent, okay, even if you just sell it for $50 or $25, they might buy it from a local artist. And then she'd have immediate money for gas and stuff. Could she do that? Yeah. But she didn't go there during the day when the tourists will be out and about. She goes there at sunset, which doesn't make a lot of sense. So, I don't know what that has to do with her feeling safe. Just, let's say, wait a minute. I like that one. Where is it at? Where'd it go? Stephanie says, I swear the mosquitoes there are like military grade weapons. I don't know if you're talking about acetine, but that is sure true. I wouldn't make it on Naked and Afraid. I would not, Aunt Deanie. Oh my God, they're horrifying. Oh Lord. Let's see. Alexander says, if Bob wasn't involved, she probably really wanted to take some time off because she had plans. I always find it strange when people vanish after such announcements like Maura Murray. Well, Maura Murray, and if you haven't seen my video on that, go to the YouTube search engine, just put in profiler Pat Brown, Maura Murray. She was having a meltdown. And so she, I think, was going off to just hide away for a little bit. Because she was having issues. But the thing that bothers me about Tiffany is that she doesn't have any money. She says I know, again, I don't know. This guy could be lying about she couldn't afford to buy gas. Maybe she did have enough money for that kind of thing, but I don't know where she would be going. If she needed money, why is she going away from her job where you earn the money? So theoretically, she should be going someplace to get money. But what was in the vehicle wasn't stuff to leave town with either. So if she would decide, I mean, if I were going to sell my artwork, I put a whole bunch of artwork in there, and maybe I take some kind of overnight bag, at least a change of clothes, and then and maybe I knew someplace I could go and sit on the sidewalk and sell the damn stuff. But she didn't do that. She's got 3 lousy paintings, which is not a lot to sell. And she doesn't have a whole bag of clothes. She did have some peanut butter in there and a jug of water, but that was supposedly something she had at work all the time. So I see no evidence she was leaving the area at that moment in time. So, Carolina says, another way off the island is call a friend for a ride. And by the way, help me move the body. As they say, friends help you move and good friends help you move bodies. This is true. Let's see if anybody else has to say anything. I think we're down to the end of this. So I have an invitation for dinner. So at my daughter's, and we're going to have birria. Birria is this incredible Mexican thing, which throws me off of my vegetarian normal diet because it's tacos that you dip in this incredibly ridiculous meat broth. And it's so good. You dip it and you got to make it right. But if you make it right, she's been cooking this for 5 hours now. The sauce stuff. Can't wait. Let me point that out too. She obviously didn't contact her boyfriend, and neither did he after his move, which I find strange. Yes, and people said, usually people who are in love call each other all the time. So even though, now mind you, when we hear about she had the last breakfast with her boyfriend before he moved, again, we're only getting what Gary says. So who knows? Maybe she said, hey, I just need some time off. Let's just, you're moving away. You just get settled. Just, I'm going to figure out what I want to do. And that's why they didn't call each other. Supposedly he was pretty broken. He was pretty horrified and broken up over the fact something happened to her. And he supposedly has nothing to do with it. So I don't see him having anything to do with it. So give us the recipe. If it's any good, I will. Oh, good. Thank you very much. I shouldn't be eating it, but I'm probably going to. Oh, my goodness. Oh, no, Kelly. I missed another great show as I fell asleep. I'll watch this. Yeah, well, a lot of people fall asleep during my shows. Thank you very much, Sky Ricky. Oh, aren't you nice, Aunt Deanie? I appreciate that. And, having you guys here, oh, thank you, Lisa S. Having you guys here is great. I say, I that's why I do live shows. I like having you guys in there. And I don't know a lot of you personally, like I've met you, but maybe we will one day. But having people here makes it much more fun to do, to have the interaction. And I've gotten to know a lot of you, at least the way you think, the way your sense of humor and all that. So it brightens up my day. So just doing videos that aren't live is not as pleasant as this. So I appreciate all of you being here and making a cheerful day. So anyway, thank you for being here. And next week I'm going to do the Ray Rivera case. That's the guy who went into the I forgot the name of the place. Okay, Belvedere. Ray Rivera, he's a young man who's married. He took a phone call and then he went to the Belvedere Hotel in Baltimore and ended up dead there. And it's a very bizarre thing that this has been one of those unsolved mysteries forever and ever and ever. And people are just, but yeah, it's really interesting. So I've got a lot of reading to do on that. To understand a lot of the technicalities of it, but that'll be next week's, and I'll of course have Hangout this week. So looking forward to it should be Wednesday. So thank you. I will try to enjoy my dinner. So I'm sure I will because it sounds good already. I've been told it smells great. So looking forward to it. I'll see you all later. Bye.